Hey, everybody. We're all loading in.
Yeah.
All right. I think everybody's in. So just a reminder, we haven't had a Zoom since the fall. If you have a question, use the raise your hand emoji and I will call on people accordingly. All right, we have our first hand. We will start with Connor.
Hey, Coach, I heard on Trojans Live, Bryson Shaw talked about how at a lot of the early morning off-season workouts, you would be more involved and you were more present than in years past. What did that look like, and why did you feel like that was necessary?
Um, yeah, I was probably, I don't know. I don't know if I totally agree with that, honestly. I mean, I was at probably about the same amount that I've been in, but I would say just, yeah, in general. I mean, I think the biggest thing would be, and the players probably feel a little bit. I mean, when you're not, not in there every time that you're doing something positionally, with the quarterbacks, not every second that something football wise is going on, it obviously frees you up to do more things. And so having a chance to be more present in all other areas of the program, I think has been a byproduct of that. And I think it's so far it's been really positive. I think for everybody, the feedback I've gotten, and certainly, feeling like you kind of feel the sense as well that you're around the guys just a little bit more in total than maybe I was before, which was certainly one of the goals of the move that we made.
Ryan Young. Oh, Ryan, you're on mute. There we go.
Sorry. And Lincoln, what's been the major challenge to Miller this spring and really up until the season? The one area you want him to get better at and really focusing on taking the next step.
You said to Miller, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Just I think continuing to build, and just continuing to grow. He grew a lot the last 2 years. He's got a good understanding of what we're doing. I think he's had to resist, I think, sometimes the urge or temptation to want to try to do more. Like you gotta, every player is gonna play like has a style that fits them, right? And every player's style is gonna be a little bit different. And you want to improve within what you are, but you don't want to try to be something maybe that you're not. And that every quarterback I know that I've ever been involved with, like, you kind of hit that point, right? It's like if you're getting better, you're gaining confidence, you're excited, and then you see sometimes guys get too far outside the framework of who they are as a player. And at times you got to rein it back in, and some Miller's going to have to do that some as he grows. And I mean, he knows what we're doing offensively. Like, he knows it as good as any player on our roster. He's had a lot of reps around here. He's very confident in it, but it's continued to build within the framework of who he is as a quarterback, and really understanding and owning that. And so that certainly, I would say, more than most, is a big part of his journey right now. And then, continuing, he's got a leadership presence on this team, continuing to learn his new teammates, learn the new dynamics of this team. This team, in a lot of ways, feels really, really different than, where we were 12 months ago. Not necessarily, better or worse, just different. And so the leadership required is going to be different as well. And so we certainly, are expecting him to step up in that regard, and seeing him put a lot of effort towards that right now.
Thanks.
Luca.
Hey, Lincoln. I know in the fall, you said that Sierra Wright was away from the team back in the fall, and obviously he's not with the team this spring. Is there any particular reason for that, or any chance as well that he's back for this upcoming fall?
No, he's still away from the team right now. That hasn't been any really any development on that.
Antonio.
Lincoln, how would you describe the overall state of the tight end room right now with Lake out and some younger guys, kind of more inexperienced guys getting a lot of reps before, the depth arrives in summer?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously unfortunate we don't have Lake. That also has probably been it's been a great opportunity for Tabo, for Joey Olson, for Cade Eldridge. I mean, those three guys specifically are getting a ton of reps, and we're pretty thin right now at wideout, and so we've repped those guys a ton. We're really featuring them this spring, and they're all getting a really large chunk of the reps, which is great for their development. And honestly, even if Lake was healthy with the amount of reps he's had around here, I mean, he would certainly still be repping, but I think we would have been featuring, those guys a lot, kind of no matter what. So, no, I've been excited about their development. I think, both Tabo and Cade from last year have done some really good things. They both really did some really nice things in the bowl game for us, and that's continued. They're tough physical kids that have really started to kind of understand the position. The position in a lot of ways was kind of new for both of them when they got here. Tabo as a linebacker, and then Cade kind of was just a do-it-all guy in high school. So they've really had to start kind of from the ground up, and Zach's done a really nice job teaching those guys and developing. And then we've been excited. We've seen some nice flashes from Joey Olson here early on in spring. He has made some plays. He can run around, can catch the ball. He's learning a lot more about the blocking and certainly all the other responsibilities that position handles. But yeah, I mean, you look at it, obviously going to get Lake back here, and then add the two other guys here, obviously with Walker and Walter here, here pretty quick, and pretty quickly it's going to be the deepest and most talented tight end room that we've had in our time at SC by a long ways, which is, that's what we wanted. We haven't quite had the depth or the full talent in there that we've really desired to have. And I think the additions and some of these guys coming back and getting better have helped us take steps in that direction.
Tim?
Good afternoon, Coach. We came in, you said that there are lofty expectations at USC, and in particular, spring is a time to get better, a lot of new faces. Which position group do you feel needs to take that proverbial next step in order to get the team to its team goals? And what are you guys working on specifically in the spring to get them there?
Tim, I would say it's hard to narrow it down to one. I mean, it's a new team. I mean, every position group has something new about it. And then on top of it, we're installing a brand new defense. And so, yeah, I mean, there's major changes at every offensive position, even though the system's still the same. We have a new position coach in the offensive room in terms of with Anthony and the running backs. So there's certainly adjustments and tweaks there. And then, yeah, I mean, how could you not say, I don't know how it'd be tough to just single out one. I mean, everybody needs to climb. I mean, everybody needs to get better. I know that's probably the boring answer, not what you were hoping for me to say, but I mean, it really is the truth. I think if I were to really like lean in on, they're all super important, but I mean, in terms of like changes compared to what we were doing, I mean, it's hard not to really point out the defensive line. I mean, there's the changes defensively are probably more radical there than at any other level of our defense. And so, those guys, and it's not just learning, it's not necessarily a scheme thing. It's the way we teach technique and fundamentals is much different than what we were doing before. And so it's not just, do I have the A gap or do I rush the edge or do I drop? I mean, there's a whole lot to it, and really just a new way of thinking. And so it's been fun to see, those guys get developed by Henny and Sean. I like some of the young depth and young talent is really apparent there, and our guys are getting better fast, but that's, that'll obviously be a really key group like it is every year, especially in the situation that we're going into.
Mark?
Hey, Coach, have there been any unanticipated leaders that have kind of shown themselves, not so much on the field, but, in the locker room, culture-wise, vocally, that maybe you weren't aware that they had that in them?
That's a good question. Well, I think we talked previously about some of the newcomers that have come in, and I would say, again, echo, it's been impressive with some of the leadership those guys have, Keeley, East, and some guys like that are, I think, really have some leadership, some really strong leadership skills and potential. And they haven't been afraid to, dive right in there and really become a presence right away, which has been good. Sometimes the transfers, you know, they kind of wait and bide their time. It's good to see those guys jump in. Trying to think of somebody that's like come out of the blue. I mean, I do think we have some really exciting young leaders on this team. You know, will they be a team captain this year? Maybe not, but are guys like in the future that you think really have some leadership skills. You know, I think that freshman class, even some of the young guys that came in, it's you see some flashes from some of these guys kind of like starting to lead and not scared to get up at the front of the line. That are pretty cool. And then I think, the only other group I would say I think that's been, you know, impressive in that regard is some of the guys that were freshmen for us last year. You know, a lot of those guys ended up taking on some roles, some of them some pretty big roles, especially in the bowl game. And that's become a pretty vocal group. That was a really tight knit group when we brought them in, you know, a little over a year ago. You can see that they've been in the program now. They really want to be a class that has a strong impact on this place. And a lot of those guys, some of the receivers, some of the players in the defensive front seven, some of the young linemen, like there's some real leadership capability in there. So yeah, I would say it's probably a little bit more spread out, at least at this point, than maybe it was at this time last year. Last year it was kind of a few key guys, and now I feel like it's a little bit more well distributed in terms of sides of the ball and number of people right now.
Thank you.
Hey, Lincoln, you actually gave me a good little segue of some of those sophomores this year, Quentin and Amarion in the running back room. How have you seen those guys developing, especially with Woody coming in as that transfer in that position group?
Yeah, I like the room a lot. I really do. I like how it's kind of came together. You know, Coach Jones has been a fantastic addition. Been really impressed with him, and not that it was a surprise, but how quickly he's taken to our guys and our system and all. So he's been great. And yeah, it's a cool mix. Like Woody's been a good veteran presence for us in that room. You can tell he's played some ball, very professional in his approach. You know, Quentin and Amarion, the two returners. You could tell much more comfortable in our system. Really, they understand what's going on right now, and that you could tell it's less focused on, hey, what's my assignment, and more on like, hey, doing it at a high level. And so there's just a little bit different confidence with those guys right now because they're both talented guys. And then we've been really pleased with Brian Jackson. He's a mature, he's a pretty mature freshman. When you talk about a midterm guy coming in, has a good grasp on what we're doing. Certainly belongs physically, no question about that. So it's and the look of the room, you know, is a little different than what we've had. It's a bigger room, you know, which has been a goal here. We wanted to get a little bit bigger in that running back room compared to what we've been the first few years, and there's some power and physicality in that room, and I would say, you know, the depth right now, like looking at it a few days in, I think has a chance to be have us in a position where we're as strong as we've been in that room in the now coming up on 3 years.
And just a real quick one, who do you got in this women's basketball game this afternoon, Lincoln?
Of course, you already know, Lindsay and the Trojans, baby. I can't
just
wait
wanted
to
to
watch it.
Thanks.
Eric?
Coach, this hits maybe on the last two mix, but the young guys, the 2023 group, especially now with pads on a couple practices, anybody just kind of jump out to you and pop in terms of the development on the field between last year and now early in spring?
You know, from a physical development standpoint, you know, Jacoby Lane's really come a long ways. He was, you know, rail thin. I mean, we were kind of joking the other day. I mean, when we first started recruiting him, he looked like this fork. Now he looks like this water bottle. All right. So like he's put on close to 30 pounds since he's been here, which has been awesome. I mean, he's really, really improved physically. So I've been impressed with that. You know, Lemon, I think, has really improved physically. I think Kate Eldridge has taken some really nice steps. I would point to like all of the young offensive linemen have really improved. I mean, you know, Lonnie was probably the best physically coming in of that group, but you know, Amos has done a really good job getting himself in shape and has really improved. Tobias was different. He had to come in and put on a bunch of weight, and you see the strength and weight kind of. His body's kind of starting to get used to that, and you see some bright flashes there. Obviously, we know Paige has made a huge jump. I know we talked about that a lot last year. And Ben Walos is doing some really nice things as well. Obviously there's a couple of less guys, obviously defensively, just kind of with the way that shook out. But I mean, Elijah Hughes would be one, like off the top of my head, I look at. Braylon Shelby, I mean, y'all see the before and after. Now he looked pretty good when he came in here, but like the mass and the strength and improvement that he's been able to make and he's been able to put on are apparent. So some of these guys like physically are just able to do some things that like last year they weren't able to do. So it's with that comes confidence and the ability to use them different ways. So it's a good class and they're hungry. And the cool thing is they're all like really together with it. Like they push each other. Like I said, they have individual goals, but you can tell like them kind of little subculture within the team. Like that class like has really taken it personal to continue to push this program forward, and they're doing some good things.
All right, we have time for just a few more. Antonio?
Hey, Lane, what do you want to see from the kicker spot this spring? And I know you guys have a guy coming in. Is that somewhere where you anticipate a competition in the fall?
Absolutely. No, it's a competition. We're not gonna, it's an area we know that we have to perform better at, certainly both on kickoffs and on field goals. When I would say the field goals, I mean really the entire operation of it. We gotta take some positive steps there. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. So there's two ways that happens. It's the guys in your program have got to improve, which we believe our guys will. And then you got to bring in guys from the outside that are ready to dive in and compete. And so we've added some guys. Wouldn't rule out, that we might continue to explore that. We'll just kind of see how this spring goes. We're splitting up the reps. We're letting these guys compete. We're going to have a different holder this year, which obviously is a big factor on the field goal team. So, but that's been one of our big off-season goals, is knowing that we one way or another we have to take a step up there, and everybody involved understands the expectations there.
Thanks.
Ryan?
Two-part question on the linebackers. Lincoln, you mentioned Easton's leadership abilities. As a player, though, how does he differentiate himself in that group coming in? And then with the offseason strength gains, one guy who kind of stayed the same was Eric Gentry, at least in terms of the roster, his weight listed. How does that impact him and his ability to maybe take a leap forward this year that he didn't get much bigger?
Yeah, Easton he's a natural player. He's a confident player. There's some things similar from a schematic standpoint, and what they did at Oregon State and what we're doing here that he's been able to tie into pretty quickly. You could just tell the guy's played a lot of ball. Like he's just got a confidence about him. He doesn't bust very often. He's in the right place. Like he makes some really good plays, but even his bad plays right now they're not like bag breakers, and that's a lot of times the definition as guys get older. It's not necessarily like that their really good plays get better. It's that their worst plays are like not that bad. And that's typically when you find really good players. So far that would be kind of my observations of him. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what we listed him at. Eric's put on some decent weight. It was a little bit under goal wise what we had for the first few months with him. But not drastically. He's put on some weight. He's put on some strength. That'll continue to be, I mean, that's going to be a focus point for him probably as long as he plays football. Just with kid's got a crazy high metabolism, and he's just the way he's kind of naturally built. It's just going to continue to be a battle. But he's put on some weight and strength. And that shows out on the field. And but he's certainly going to have a great off season to get to the goals that we have for him come fall.
Thanks.
All right, we'll finish up with this last one with Luca.
Hey, Lincoln, just talking about Anthony, because I don't think we've asked you about him much yet, but obviously a guy who has coached with, your brother and brings that kind of repertoire of, understanding high caliber offenses. Did you sense that, just that kind of simple fact was a reason for him taking the job? Is that unique to you to have a guy who's, going to be coaching with both of you now? And what's the excitement and the strengths that you see from him coming into that running back room?
Yeah, I'd known about him, and honestly, I didn't talk to my brother until the process with Anthony was still a little bit ways down the road. I wanted to do some of my own research and kind of, just kind of try to get my own opinion on him, because I knew obviously I would certainly very much listen and trust, my brother's opinion on him. And but so kind of waited a little bit, but yeah, it was great to be able to have somebody that's been in a system that's similar, and certainly being able to talk to my brother about the, being in the room with him and going through the fire and what he's like. And yeah, he checked every box for us, and he's been fantastic. I mean, it's not easy to get somewhere, a couple of days before you're out on the field starting spring ball and running position meetings, and he just dove right in, both with the players, with the staff. I mean, I think you would jump in our staff room right now and think he's been here with us for years. He just kind of has that. He's got a unique way of, he's got extremely genuine personality that I think people gravitate towards. You just kind of feel it with this guy, really magnetic and really genuine. And so I've been super impressed with him. His knowledge of the position. I think he's going to also make a really positive impact for us on special teams as well. He's got some really good experience there. You can tell he's been at the front of the room, before. And it's easy to see why he's moved up so quickly. So no, it's been awesome. He's got an awesome family. Just been really, really pleased with it up to this point. And yeah, it's cool to have somebody, like I said, that's been in the system and knows your family and has all those cool connections as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach Riley. Thank you, media. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Stay dry and go USC women's basketball. Right on, guys.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy
Thank you.
Easter.